Hello, dear cinephile friends. Today, we summarize Silent Zone. Spoilers ahead. A sudden emergency alert on TV reveals the emergence of a mysterious virus that originated in an airport. Those infected turn uncontrollably aggressive, and chaos soon leads to the airport being engulfed in flames. 2 months later, the infection has gone global, unleashing a pandemic. It changes people into savage, zombie-like creatures known as ferals. Governments attempt to enforce lockdowns and quarantines, but backlash grows as protesters argue that ferals still have humanity and should be treated with compassion. Riots break out, and military forces are deployed to the streets to restore order, clashing with civilians and further escalating the crisis. One afternoon, all television signals suddenly cut out. Siblings Abigail and her brother receive a call from their father, a pilot, who assures them he's busy helping others and that they'll be safe with their mom. Just then, a noise comes from upstairs and the family bolts from the house. As they reach their car, a feral attacks their mother. Abigail hides beneath the vehicle, forced to watch as her brother is also attacked. A police siren scares the creature away, but not before the mother turns into a feral and finishes off her son. When Abigail sobs, her now transformed mother hears her and charges. At the last second, a man named Cassius appears and shoots the feral, saving Abigail. Abigail clings to him in gratitude. As her brother starts to turn, Cassius gently tells her to close her eyes, then ends the boy's suffering. A decade passes. The world has fallen into ruin, overgrown with wild nature. Teenaged Abigail now travels with Cassius, who has trained her into a skilled survivor. While hunting in the forest, Abigail makes a perfect shot on a deer, though Cassius warns her about acting too impulsively. That night, they camp and rig tripwires for protection. When one of them is triggered, Cassius investigates and shoots a lone feral, likely a scout from a nearby horde. They pack up and stay on the move. Along the way, Cassius continues to train Abigail during breaks. One afternoon, they come across a man fighting off ferals. Abigail fires too hastily and accidentally hits both the man and a feral. Cassius takes down the remaining threat. They search the man's vehicle, and Cassius mercifully ends his life before taking his shoes. A radio crackles to life, calling for the driver, but Cassius tells Abigail to ignore it. More vehicles arrive, and a group of armed survivors surround them. Seeing the dead man, they wrongly assume Cassius and Abigail killed him for supplies. Cassius and Abigail act fast, disarming two of them. Tension spikes, but a pregnant woman named Megan tries to de-escalate things. Suddenly, their horses panic. An oncoming feral horde surrounds them. Everyone opens fire. The ferals are too many, forcing close combat. Cassius and Abigail fight with blades while other survivors fall. A woman drops a Molotov cocktail as she's attacked, causing an explosion that knocks Cassius back. A bitten survivor tries to end his life, but runs out of bullets and transforms instead. Their leader is brutally killed by a massive feral. Megan's husband, David, fights off an attacker, and the couple escapes with Abigail's help. Cassius finishes off a few more and joins them. When a feral lands on their car, Cassius brakes hard to shake it off, and Abigail grabs their gear before driving off. The large feral realizes his mate was killed and lets out an enraged roar. Abigail checks their ammo. They're nearly out. Megan mentions they're heading to a riverside colony, and she's almost full term. Cassius and Abigail are skeptical. Colonies usually fail. When their car breaks down, they have to proceed on foot. They reach an abandoned town and decide to rest. Megan offers food, but Cassius and Abigail stick to wild game to avoid infection. The couple speaks highly of the colony, which they contacted via radio. It's well stocked with medical support. Cassius reveals their goal is to reach the west coast and find a boat to escape to the islands. Cassius shows them a map but refuses to join their colony mission, fearing the horde will hunt them down. Abigail argues that they should help, but Cassius won't budge. That night, the horde tracks them down by following the road. David and Cassius bond over drinks. Cassius always carries a bullet just in case. Moved by their talk, Cassius agrees to help them get to the colony. The next morning, Abigail fends off two ferals and is saved by Cassius before falling out a window. One feral trips a wire and dies in a blast, buying them time to flee. Abigail remembers a nearby civilian airport where her father kept a plane. Cassius objects it's a risky spot, but is outvoted. They find a wounded man and a building. Cassius insists on not resting, but they grab a wheelchair for Megan. Once they leave, the Horde slaughters the hidden family. At the airport, no planes are in sight, until Abigail finds her father's old hangar. Inside is a plane, and David has the skills to repair it. Cassius and Abigail look for supplies. She finds a photo of herself with her dad and puts it back on the wall. Just then, the Horde arrives. They rush to the plane while Cassius holds them off. Abigail struggles to take off, but finally figures it out. Cassius shoots a feral hanging on the door. The plane lifts off, but quickly begins failing. Abigail crash lands it into trees. Everyone survives. They find an empty train station to rest. Cassius marks their path. It'll take 2 days to reach the colony. He shares food with Megan, revealing his tragic past. He had to kill his wife's infected family, and she later took her own life. David checks his ankle. It's not twisted. It's a bite. He considers ending it, but can't. Cassius discovers the bite and confronts him, giving David a chance to confess or be dealt with. They stumble upon a lit house. Cassius is wary, but Abigail pleads for help, mentioning Megan's condition. A man named Norton welcomes them, asks them to disarm, then offers food and shelter. He explains he's an engineer who built his own power systems. He evades questions about his wife. Cassius finds old photos of his family. Megan worries. The baby hasn't moved. Cassius promises to protect it. Norton, now drunk, reveals his misanthropy and views the virus as a form of evolution. David rushes to the bathroom, the infection spreading. When he returns, he finds everyone unconscious. Norton drugged their drinks. Donning a lab coat, Norton uses a sound device to incapacitate David. He reveals his infected wife is caged and uses her for experiments. He sets her loose on the group, but David breaks free and fights her. Norton uses the device again to stop him. Despite the pain, David frees the others. Cassius tries to shoot Norton, but he flees. They gather their things and escape. Megan goes into labor. Norton watches them leave with his snarling wife beside him. The Horde finds them again, and they race toward the colony. Blocked by a fallen tree, they go on foot. David, out of ammo and close to turning, sacrifices himself to buy time. He holds them off, but is killed by the large feral. Abigail covers Cassius and Megan, yelling for help until colony guards shoot the attackers and rescue them. Megan is taken to the infirmary. Cassius tells Abigail they should leave, but she's done running. The midwife says Megan won't survive, but the baby, a girl named Hope, is fine. Megan gives Cassius her locket and passes away. Meanwhile, Norton reaches the scene, uses his device to command the Horde, and sets off toward the colony for revenge. Cassius now cares for baby Hope. Abigail meets local teens and joins a party. They find a hidden tunnel and a remote. She reaches for a strange remote control, but Roderick quickly intervenes. He explains that the entire boat town is rigged with explosives, and if the ferals manage to invade, the remote will trigger a devastating explosion. Humans can avoid the blast by using a hatch in the ground that leads to an abandoned dam. The next morning, Norton spots a guard on a boat and requests his assistance. After disposing of the guard, a feral leaps into the water and climbs into the colony, killing another guard. With that, Norton is now able to send the entire Horde to launch an attack. As survivors are picked off throughout the area, a few armed individuals step up to fight back. Abigail saves Roderick from a feral before directing the teen gang with specific tasks. Those with weapons should find higher ground and open fire, while Roderick must lead the survivors to the dam, and she will search for Cassius. As panic sweeps the colony, the midwife takes Hope from Cassius so he can search for Abigail. Meanwhile, the armed defenders are running low on ammunition, and the colony's leader attempts to flee, only to be immediately killed by a feral. Abigail manages to shoot a feral that nearly kills 2 young girls, and Cassius stabs a creature to protect 2 teenagers. Eventually, Abigail and Cassius reunite and begin fighting the ferals together using a mix of firearms and hand-to-hand combat. When they spot an opening, they try to join the evacuation, but Cassius is distracted when he sees Norton. A feral tackles him, and while struggling, Cassius manages to stab the creature. Norton finds him, however, and begins kicking him while proclaiming his desire to create a safer world. After a tense fight, Cassius manages to rise and pushes Norton against a wall, smashing the device repeatedly until it breaks. Cassius then rushes back to Abigail and the ferals swarm onto Norton, killing him. The survivors finally reach the dam, where they ask Roderick to set off the explosives, but he hesitates, worried about Abigail's absence. Meanwhile, in the colony, a large feral attacks Abigail, and Cassius strikes it with an oar. When the creature falls, Abigail sees its bracelet and is horrified to realize it's her father. The shock leaves her immobilized, and Cassius has to snap her out of it, dragging her toward the hatch. Just in time, they enter the tunnel before Roderick can no longer wait and detonates the explosives, obliterating the entire colony and killing every feral within it. Afterward, the survivors discover an infected man among them. As Cassius attempts to calm him down, a feral suddenly emerges and kills the man, then turns to attack Cassius, triggering a brutal fight. They exchange blows until they both fall to the ground and the feral nearly bites Cassius. This time, Abigail waits for the right moment, taking the shot and killing the creature without harming her friend. The survivors watch as the colony burns and wonder what to do next. Abigail tells them they can build a new home at the dam, and Cassius reveals that he stole Norton's notebook, which contains the instructions for building a generator. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe for other movies recaps.